You're right. Last year, we did see a decline in the number of transactions across Saudi. It fell by 16% year on year. And the increase in house prices has been a significant contributor to that decline, especially when you think about the fact that apartment prices have increased by 60% in Riyadh in the last 3 years, by 20% in Jeddah over the same period. And clearly people's incomes have not risen at the same rate, which has contributed to the slowdown. But aside from that, we've also had a large rise in the cost of borrowing. Interest rates have gone from 0.1% in 2021 to 6% this year. And aside from these financial dampeners that are reducing the level of residential activity, we have a change in the residential market dynamic. 60% of Saudi's population is aged below 30. And what we're finding is a lot of young Saudis moving around the country in search of better employment opportunities. And when these young Saudis arrive in a new city for the first time, their focus is on renting rather than buying. And this is also contributing to the slowdown in the level of deal activity.
So what are your expectations then for the Saudi real estate market for this year, and especially in Riyadh? Let's start with Riyadh.
So Riyadh has been a little bit of an exception. Last year, we saw the number of transactions increase by 7% in Riyadh. We know it's a key focal point for the government's economic transformation of the country. It's where we're seeing the bulk of new jobs being created. It's where expats are moving to. But at the same time, the residential market, regardless of which city we're talking about in Saudi, is going through the very normal cyclical behavior of any property market cycle. And right now, the way prices are behaving, especially in a city like Riyadh, they are in record high territory. And it looks like they're starting to flatten. So for the next 12 months, we're expecting house prices in Riyadh to flatten rather than increase.
Faisal, the introduction of the premium residency visa that allows foreigners to get a premium visa in exchange for a 4 million real estate transaction in Saudi Arabia. Is this a game changer, do you think, for the real estate sector?
Good question. So with the domestic dynamic that we just talked about, it's clear that we are going to have to identify or create new sources of demand for residential real estate to keep the market buoyant. And one of those sources might be to look at international buyers. So we're still waiting for changes to the foreign ownership laws, but for the time being, the government has started to turn the taps and introduce new premium residential visas, as you've said, one of which is connected to property ownership. But in order to qualify, the property or properties must cost no less than 4 million riyals. So whilst the visa is expected to facilitate greater activity amongst foreign buyers, it appears that it will be concentrated amongst the ultra-rich or high net worth individuals, at least to start.
Faisal, one last thing. What's the outlook on the holy cities of Mecca and Medina?
We've actually just carried out a brand new study, Lara, called Destination Saudi, where we have spoken to high net worth individuals that live around the world to understand their appetite, attitudes, and aspirations for investing in the holy cities. And what we have found is that 82% of Muslim high net worth individuals that live around the world would like to own real estate in the holy cities. And for us, one of the biggest surprises was their average budgets. They're looking at spending around $4.7 million on a home in Mecca or Medina. And today, the average price of a 4-bedroom villa is around $600,000. So we have a group of buyers that's willing to spend more than 8 times the current average price of a 4-bedroom villa. In addition to that, if we're looking at Mecca and Medina, we've only got about 2 giga projects that have been announced to date, Masar Mecca and Thakar, which will add around 11,000 units to the kingdom in the next 6 or 7 years. And overall, today, we have 660,000 homes planned or under construction in Saudi. So in the holy cities, we've just got 1.5 to 2% of that total number of residential units for the kingdom that are being developed. And to us, that suggests strongly that there is an opportunity to add more residential stock in the holy cities and certainly more luxury residential stock.